back in again for our next little webinar here on Facebook. Again, I'm Daniel Martin. This is Patrick Wehrly. We're going to touch base tonight about how it could possibly be good news if you've lost some money in a retirement account due to this coronavirus stuff. So I think that's kind of a good subject for some folks to hear, because I know quite a few people have told us that they've lost quite a bit of money out there. So what's your touch base on that this evening?
Well, I don't think it's over yet. I don't think any of us do. I think this little party is kind of just getting started. But there are actually, this is shocking, but there are tax benefits. There are many ways to save a lot of money this year as a result of what's happened. Kind of in our other video, we're back to making lemonade out of lemons.
Right.
A couple things to remember before we get started. First of all, Daniel's the president of our tax division. I'm an enrolled agent admitted to practice in the United States, and both of us are tax and financial experts, so we have a real good idea of how this works. And folks, let me remind you again, the tail that wags the dog, the tail that wags the investment dog is taxes, taxes, taxes. That's why it's so critical these days with this president, these elections coming up, everything you see going on around you, the Secure Act. Just today, Jerome Powell wanting to amend and expand the Fed's role. All of those things are taxes, 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 and it's critical to get good tax advice. By the way, tax advice is not walking in to a tax preparation office in March, and when there's nothing you can do, everything is frozen. The fat lady's already saying and dropped the mic, it's too late. I'm talking about sitting down with somebody now, right now, this week, this month, and making sure that you're taking advantage and you're understanding the way that tax laws work. Folks, this week, we've talked to people that have lost tens of thousands of dollars because they made decisions. They made good decisions based on what they knew. They made good decisions based on what they were told. They made good decisions based on what they'd heard. The problem was the information was wrong. And so the decisions, and I even asked one gentleman, I said, how could you have done this? How is it that you would have made a mistake this grave? And he said, I just didn't know what I was doing. My neighbor up the street, Bob, who cuts meat for Kroger's, told me something that wasn't true. Folks, get good advice, critical to get good advice, and we're a good source of that.
That's right. Just a reminder, Patrick kind of touched on, we are very good financial advisors, but we use taxes as our basis, and that's what kind of separates us from the other guys. So again, welcome in if you're just now tuning in. Tonight we're going to be talking about how there's actually some good news if you've lost money in your retirement account due to the COVID. So one of the things that I've been hearing a lot from our clients that kind of got this jump started was they actually had a broker that advised them to sell because of the free fall of the market. And in a lot of cases, that was one of the worst things they could have done. So we're going to show them how to make that better.
Well, yeah, selling it, it's got a little short-sighted sometimes. And again, I'm not saying that we would never do that. We would never recommend that. But if that's something that your broker had you do, with or without your knowledge, with or without your permission, those losses exist. It doesn't matter what happens between now and December 31st. Those losses are booked, they exist, and they have to go on your tax return. That's where a little bit of good news might be able to come. Again, a little lemonade we can make for you. One of the things to understand is that those losses will reduce your 2020 income tax bill. Your income tax bill will go down. A lot of people have misunderstood that and losses. And let me tell you, that's good news for those of you that would like to save some money. So that's good news, I guess, number one.
Well, on top of that is a lot of folks are going, well, I didn't need any. I'm not making any money this year because I got laid off and stuff. Well, that's actually going to work in their favor along with that good news, because if they don't have the money, then we can use some of these losses to start converting different things and use that lack of income to create more taxes to use the write-off in a better way.
Exactly. So talked to a guy the other day. We started off, we had about $50,000 worth of Facebook. His Facebook is now worth $100,000. He said, Patrick, I don't want to own $100,000 worth of any particular stock. I don't feel comfortable with that, and I told him I agree. But he said, I can't sell it. I can't reduce my position because I don't want to pay capital gains taxes on the reduction. I said, good news, good news. Because of the losses that you've experienced from this broker sell of your assets, those losses can be balanced against your gain. So ultimately, it worked out. We were able to sell a lot of Facebook. We were able to create a large capital gain, which is a tax he would have owed, and poof, that tax disappeared because we had the losses as an offset. So once again, another myth, once again, another misunderstanding, once again, another thing that tax professionals just can't seem to communicate is that while certain losses are capped, they are unlimited against gains.
That's excellent. And like we talked about, you have to plan ahead with this kind of stuff. You can't come in and sit down in front of us in March or April and say, okay, what can I do to reduce the tax bill last year? It's too late for last year. But if we're working now, between now and December, and we get all this taken care of ahead of plan, we get you a game plan, we can make a huge difference in their tax bill that they're filing next year. And then we can be planning next year for the following one. So you got to be ahead of your time. So there's got to be a few more things that we can touch on about lowering their overall 2020 tax bill. That's what we're talking about, getting ahead. What can we do right now today to help them lower the tax bill for this year?
Well, once again, a lot of people have misunderstood or they're not up to speed. I had one in my office today. They don't understand standard deductions. They're still saving their receipts. They're still doing their charitable giving, which is great. You should be doing charitable giving. They're still talking about their real estate taxes, but they're not understanding the new standard deduction that when your feet hit the floor on January 1st of this year, you can earn $20,000 absolutely tax-free. You can make another $20,000 at 10%. People aren't understanding how that's working, and they're not understanding how a lower income or smaller income in 2020 can dramatically open up a door, a perfect storm for them to begin converting, we've talked about this traditional IRAs with 100% taxable for the rest of your life, your kid's life, and your dog's life, into a Roth account, which is never taxable to you, your spouse, your children, or your dog. This is a perfect time, a perfect storm with what's happened. I'm sad that it's happened. It's terrible that it's happened. We think it's going to continue. But again, it's created a circumstance where you can now do huge conversions that could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars of income taxes that are going up in the future.
And on top of that, not only Roth, but like a Roth on steroids, we could help them fund an IUL if they're healthy enough, which would be a tremendous benefit to them, because then we get the life insurance multiplication of an IUL, indexed universal life product. Believe me, it's something you want to call and contact us about. So we're going to start heading out a wrap up here, but I just want to remind you that we're going to be doing these every 2 weeks. So if you have some questions or things that you would, maybe a subject you would like us to touch on a little more as you're watching our commercials and stuff that are coming out, shoot us a quick email or drop us a line on Facebook, and we'd be glad to work those into these webinars as we're going on to them. Next week we're going to be talking about there's two kinds of taxpayers or investors, in this world. And in 2020, the best way to say them is, and this is Patrick's favorite saying, there's only two kinds of people out there, and it's the
quick
and the
dead.
That's right. So that's kind of what we're going to touch on next week. So for this week, before we wrap it up here, I just want to remind y'all that if you'll contact our office, everything we've been talking about we do by doing a tax analysis on you. We're going to gather in your information. We're going to set a game plan out ahead of you for next year and the years beyond. And if you'll contact us after watching this little webinar, let us know that you watched this, we're going to give you that tax analysis for free. That's normally about a $285 fee that we give out, so we're going to give it to you for free for contacting us through this webinar. So give me some last thoughts on what you think about everything we talked about here today, Patrick.
So I got a very interesting call from Hawaii, yesterday. I'm licensed to practice in Hawaii, by the way. Had many good clients there over the years. And he said, Patrick, I like what I hear. A friend of mine is a client of yours, recommends you very highly. You do his taxes, you do his investments, you've handled his retirement. He loves you guys, but I'm guessing that you would tell me right now on the phone that you could do a better job than the people I'm working with. And I said, that's right, I would say that to you. And he said, I'm not being ugly, but is there any way that you could prove that. I mean, it's a big thing. I've been working with this firm for 15 years. I don't much care for them, but they're here in Hawaii, and you're there in Houston, Texas. And I said, sir, I have good news for you. And we talked about this the other day. We have what's called a Morningstar apples to apples report. You show me yours, I'll show you mine. It's that simple.
Yep.
We look at your statement, we send it to a neutral third party, Morningstar, they're the largest. They have a look at it, they say, this is what Patrick and Daniel could have done for you. This is what you've been able to do. The last one I saw, by the way, the gentleman's been averaging about 8%, which is very good. I was in our particular examination and our comparison, we were at 17%. And he called me up, he said, now you have my attention. So once again, we have things that we can do that are black and white. You don't have to know us. You may not know us from Adam's house cat. We may have somebody, you may know somebody that works with us now, or interested in working with you, giving you the tax advice that's critical right now, and helping you to protect yourself from what we believe is coming, and of course build a great tax-free retirement all at the same time.
That's right. So, again, we appreciate y'all coming. If you'll contact us, we'll give you that free tax analysis. And make sure that you go back out and tell your friends that this may interest to click back on this link and re-watch this thing in the next day or two. And we extend that thing to anybody that watches this video for that free tax analysis. So we hope to see you next week so we can explain to you the only way to make it in this world is to either be part of the quick or the
Dead.
That's right. So thank y'all again. Have a good evening. God bless.
Thank you.